Welcome back. Well, I have a question for you today. Have you ever had a passion that turned into a dream? Have you ever followed that dream only to learn that there's some hidden secrets in this world, this culture that you're in that wants to make you want to make a difference in? Do you remember being 16 and not sure if you could do anything to change that world? Well, today I want you to stick around because I am extremely honored to have a young lady that I respect so very much because at 16 years old, she went out to try to change the world. And I'm already getting emotional because I know her, and it's a really kind of cool story. But I want to introduce the world to Hanna Beth Bryce. Now she got married last year. Hannah, how you doing today?
I'm doing good. Thank you so much for having me. I know, even coming on, I was thinking you've seen Dare to Be a Cowboy and everything since the very beginning. Like you were part of that forefront. So it is really
Absolutely.
cool to kind of full circle story come back and just see what we've been doing. But
Yeah,
thank you for having me on. It's an honor.
I'm really excited to bring this about because I started Sierra Rec Magazine in 2014, and that
Yeah.
was about the exact same time. Your dad and I are really good friends. You and I are starting to get to know each other. I'd known you as a little girl, but you're in high school and you have this dream. And I remember your dad calling me up and go, "Hey, could you come over to the house? And we're working on this thing, and we just kind of want to run it by you a little bit." And you're sitting at the table, you're drawing this logo, you've got this vision and this like I don't want to call it a dream board, but you're trying to hammer out the
Vision board in a
details,
way.
right? Of
Yeah.
what you want, and and out of all that comes Dare to Be a Cowboy. And
Mhm.
I remember you and your dad having little spats over what the logo should look like and all the fun family stuff at the table.
Yeah.
But you were 16 years old, and I want to take everybody back just a step here. Our guest, Hannah Beth and I know each other very well. It's been a while since we talked, but this young lady 10 years ago started a nonprofit called Dare to Be a Cowboy. I'm going to let her tell the story of what it is, and I'll tell you why we have her on the show today and why it matters to Sierra Rec Magazine. Okay, so let me back up that way. The
Yeah.
Sierra is made of all kinds of small communities, right? We have all these little communities all around the mountain towns, and the kids in these towns sometimes they get trapped, right? They're stuck in small town America. They don't know there's bigger and better things we do, and I see this over generations. More and more kids are breaking free from that. But even here in the Carson Valley, I know there's kids that have so much potential that just kind of get stuck in small town life.
Oh yeah.
Hannah Beth is still lives here in the Carson Valley, but she had a dream. And Jam, I want you to kind of break in and tell everybody about Dare to Be a Cowboy, where that came from, and then we'll kind of go from there for questions.
Yeah. Yeah. So, like you said, I started it when I was 16. I am a first generation cowgirl, which means my parents weren't involved in rodeo. And we came from Southern California area and moved up here. And I remember attending my first Reno rodeo. And that really started everything for me. I think I was 5 years old. I remember sitting in the stands with my family. I remember the energy, the smells, everything about it. And I think from that moment on, I was hooked. My mom did have one horse for a short period of time when she was younger as well. And so she got my brother and I into horseback riding lessons. At the time, we lived in Colville,
Mm-hmm.
California, which is not too far from here.
Yep.
Also, just nothing to do. So she was looking for something for us to do. And so I got started in horseback riding lessons. And I think even just for the love of the horse and everything really had me hooked for a long time. But I learned very quickly if you don't have the resources in it, and my parents were middle class, and it's just very expensive and very hard to find the resources. So I learned that very quickly, being a first generation cowgirl. And then I think my whole life also I've just been kind of an entrepreneur, and I've always wanted to help out. I did animal shelter toy drives and just like all kinds of things like that. Even
Yep.
when I was younger, I set up a store in my room and had people family come buy my stuffed animals and things like that
Yep.
they I'm sure absolutely wanted to buy. And then yeah, when I was around 15 or 16, I had a friend that also wanted to get into rodeo, and at the time I was in it already, so I was helping her get involved. We wanted a high school rodeo the next year. That was the goal. And I remember being very close to when we would have started our season, and she basically just sat me down and said, I can't. I don't have the money for it. And it is pretty impossible. And
Mm-hmm.
especially from the outside, it seems that way. And so that kind of just had my mind working. And as you said, like even in the beginning, coming up with the logo and stuff, I'm sure you kind of felt it. Everything was so fluid from the
Yep.
start of Dare to Be a Cowboy. It's crazy thinking now, 11 years later, how easy everything came as far as the logo and the name and the mission. like really all just came to me one night, and then it just kicked off from there. So that's why I started Dare to Be a Cowboy. We're here to help first generation cowboys and cowgirls and really just grow the Western industry in general. So yes, we help kids, but we also, put on barrel races, and I'm sure we'll get into all this. But
Yeah, absolutely.
we do things like that, really just to grow the Western industry is the goal.
And it's great timing because we have the Reno Rodeo coming up here just in a week or so, I think in Reno itself. So all these families are going to be coming into Reno, and there's going to be a little girl, little boy sitting out there wanting to do the Mutton Bustin or be their very first rodeo. And they go, man, someday I'd love to ride a horse like that. And, to have an organization like Dare to Be a Cowboy, and you're just one, right? I'm sure there's hundreds of different organizations they can probably tap into now, but you're an organization locally that kids can go, hey, I understand that brand. I like their messaging, and you're offering help where you can, whether it be a course they can take or a free session at a rodeo where they can learn how to rope or ride a barrel or whatever it is, right? So I remember your first one we did in a hotel room up in Reno where they were learning how to rope. Yeah, that was really pretty cool, right? So lots of different things. I remember you guys used to have barrels where people could drop off old cowboy clothes and recycle stuff. So you've had a lot of different ideas.
Oh, yeah.
You coming up, I saw on your website, you guys have a barrel racing series this year, and you have a rodeo camp coming up. You want to kind of share some details about what's going on with the kids?
Yeah, so our barrel race series, we just had our first weekend this last weekend, and those were the first two races. And that's part of growing the Western industry from people that are already in it. So we have a bunch of different programs there to be a cowboy, whether that's bringing kids that aren't involved, very beginners, or that is helping people that are already involved and helping provide resources and opportunities, basically. So the barrel race series, it's a saddle series, which any barrel racer, cowboy or cowgirl, it's all about winning that buckle or the saddle. And there isn't a series right now around here that offers that. So we started that, and that appeals to the younger kiddos, but also the professional barrel racers that want to come as well. So it really just brings everybody together. The rodeo camp will be more targeted towards very, very beginners and providing that basic foundation to help them. We're doing groundwork with horses. We're doing basic bull riding, not actually getting on bulls. We have like a bucking bull dummy and a rope and dummies and things like that we can help. It's basically the first step to get involved.
When is that camp and where's that at? Like, let's get some details.
So that's July 18th and 19th, and that'll be at the Douglas County Fairgrounds. We do have spots still available. It's halfway full already. I announced it last week, and people are all about it.
Okay.
But we're doing that in collaboration with the Demolition Derby and the Nevada State Fair that they have there, the livestock show. And so they invited us out, and actually I have one of my lesson girls, and this is just what I love about Dare to Be a Cowboy. I have a lesson girl that started with me and with horseback riding lessons last year, maybe the year before. I've had her for a little bit now. And she came to me with the idea that she wanted to do a rodeo camp. She saw Dr. Dolittle 3, and I guess they have a rodeo camp in it.
That's awesome.
And so she was just in awe with that and just wanted to do it. And that is what lights me up. When my kiddos are like trying to take that next step for themselves and see how they can make a difference as well, I'm all about it. So we're calling it Lucy's Rookie Roundup Rodeo Camp. Her name is Lucy. She's 13 years old, and she has been my right-hand man in figuring out this camp as well. And we put it together. And like I said, July 18th and 19th, and all that information is on, even with the barrel race and things like that, is on dtbac.com, our website.
Perfect. So let's talk about that real quick here. You've now been, running these camps or different variations for 10 plus years. What's it mean to you to be able to have a kid like Lucy or a young man come through and think he wants to try something, and all of a sudden you see him 2-3 years later and he's actually doing the sport, whether he's full-time or is just a passion of his now? What's that mean to you as a person who started this brand and where you wanted to go with it?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's just everything to me. I think my purpose in life, even just outside of rodeo and the Western industry, is to help people find what they were put on this earth for and help them achieve that. That's why I even love Sierra Rec and what you do, because you found your passion and you made it something that you can do every day and, make it your work. And that's what I love. I love helping people just in general. With Lucy, I can see such a future for her. So if I can be somebody that is just that open door for them, like I said, even in the beginning of my journey, I didn't have anybody like that. Really, I think that person was my dad. He always told me that you're something special, and you have a lot of potential in life. So I always had that in the back of my head, and I always knew something was ingrained in me where I knew I have a bigger purpose in this life. But I believe that for everybody.
Yeah.
And so when people start to find that and start to find their niche, whether it's rodeo or whatever it is, that is what lights me up. I am biased to rodeo and horses in the Western industry because I do think it teaches you a lot of responsibility, teaches you how to take care of something other than yourself. You're working towards something. I think kids need to stay busy
Yep.
nowadays, especially. So it just gives you something to do and work towards and have goals and that sort of thing, because that is what you need as an adult as well. Outside of school will teach you how to turn in those assignments in time, be on your deadlines, but that is what is going to get you through life, I think, is knowing that you have a lot of potential, a lot of opportunity, and then just like taking it and running with it, what I mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so that's what I hope to be to those kids.
One of the things that I've admired about you, I've watched you over the years, and our families aren't as close as we were 10 years ago for whatever reason in life, but you still live blocks away from each other sometimes.
Yeah.
But I've watched you, ups and downs of life emotionally, go through some things. You've spent some time where you just dove into what it means to be a woman, and to share what you're struggling with, and just putting yourself out there. I was wondering if you might be able to touch base a little bit on this world of social media and communication that you live in now. I mean, you're the generation that's kind of growing up in there. What kind of impact that has in not only Dare to be Cowboy, but ways you've been able to help, ladies and young people in different walks of life, just walking through your own story.
Yeah, I mean, it's huge. And I think that's a big reason why I am where I am now, is because through social media, I was able to find people that were like me and connect with those people. So when I was in high school at Douglas High, there were only a couple to a few other kids that actually high school rodeoed with me.
Mm-hmm.
So I did kind of feel like the odd man out in that way, where it was like a high school sport, but it isn't even accepted by the high school, and just like all these things. Whereas like social media really was the spot where I found so many people still to this day that I'm friends with in Oregon and Arizona, and that have helped me with Dare to be a Cowboy. I think that's why, like I said, we are Dare to be a Cowboy, and individually why I am where I am today.
Yep.
And then like outside of Dare to be a Cowboy, before Dare to be a Cowboy even was a thing, I had my own YouTube channel, shared a lot about my journey, and even when I started it, I was 16. So of course, 16 to 27, a lot happens in between there. So I mean, I share less now. I'm married now, and I know I want to become a mom, and I don't want to share all those personal details,
Sure.
but I did for a very, very long time, where I'm crying in front of the camera on my YouTube channel and just really laying it all out there for people to see. But it brought a huge, if you're able to be vulnerable like that for people, it brings a huge connection. And I think even like with my lesson kids, that's why I get along with them so well, and why they really love doing lessons, and anyone that I work with one-on-one like that, because I am very relatable in that way. And I'm not afraid to say, when I'm messing up, or, just that I'm not perfect.
Sure.
And I think a lot of people think with running a business or whatever it is that you have to have everything together, all your ducks in a row. And I actually think it's the opposite. I think you need to be able to take action even when you don't.
Yep.
You need to make sure that, you are willing to take that next step, even if you feel like you're out of control, which I think running a business, most of the time you do feel out of control. And based on all the successful people I've talked to, they still feel out of control and like they don't know what they're doing. And that's totally fine. I think that's
Trust me, starting a podcast was not the easiest thing I've ever done in my life, but I just did it.
Yeah, and you just do it. And then now you're here and you're having great conversations with people. And that, a lot of people stop there, like, oh, wow, this seems very challenging, very hard, seems out of my realm. Even when I did the podcast, I am not an interviewer in any way, but I just knew that it was a really good way for me to network with really good people. And so I just jumped into it. So I think, and even with that, a lot of things, it's some things are just a part of your journey for a short amount of time. And then you learn from that, and then it helps you just build into, your bigger picture.
Absolutely. I want to jump off there real quick and talk about another part of your life. You've always been extremely goal oriented, and you like to write processes and a calendar. And you on the side, I don't even know if it has anything to do with Dare to be Cowboy, but at least Hanna Beth on the side, you create your own journals and goal books and calendar things for people to pick up and just help them out. Tell me a little bit about where that comes from. Are you still I think you're still doing it. How do people get a hold of your resources on that, and what part of your life that is?
Totally. And that I think that's part of all the little things I used to do as a young kid now have come together. So I have a barrel racing planner, and that started being as a barrel racer. I had a barrel racing binder that I just made into a journal. And then being an entrepreneur, I was like, okay,
Yeah.
we need to sell this now. Whereas before it was a different entity, and technically it is still, but we exclusively sell through Dare to Be a
Oh, okay.
Cowboy. So yeah, I'm just everything that I do in that way has been brought back to Dare to Be a Cowboy. Yeah, and I've always been that A type personality. And in some ways, that's where, like what I was just talking about, sometimes you have to take action before you feel perfect.
Yep.
My brother, he owns a local landscaping company, and he is the epitome of that. He's just like, let's just go do it. I don't
Yep.
care, where we're at. And that has provided so many benefits to him. And that's what's shown me that you need to take those actions. Nothing's going to be perfect. Even the barrel racing planner, there's a lot of things on the inside that I would love to evolve and I would love
Sure.
to edit and change and make better. But you got to put the product out now and what you feel good with now. And then you can still evolve even
Evolve.
when that's out.
It's a great
So yeah,
lesson
that's
for
part of
life, right?
being
That's a lesson for your life. I mean, from 16 to
yeah,
27, I can tell you from 27 to 40, it's the same thing. You just put it out there, you evolve to next part of your life. So,
yeah.
are you still involved with the Reno Rodeo? Are you going to be heading up there? Is it next week or the week after? I don't have the
I
date here in
think
front of me. So,
I think it starts this next week. But
yep.
yes, we so Reno Rodeo was a huge. I was on the flag team before I started
Hmm.
Dare to Be a Cowboy, so we kind of had friends and stuff like that in the very beginning of Dare to Be a Cowboy, and
Yep.
they've always been so supportive. Ever since then, we've done the Reno Rodeo Kids Day every year. We set up a booth, we bring out animals, things like that, and help them in that way. This year is the first year we're actually sponsoring the Reno Rodeo,
Oh,
so we're
great.
sponsoring technically the Reno Rodeo Mutton Bustin, which we do an annual Mutton Bustin. We have been doing it every spring. We're adding a fall date also this year. But basically, the winners of the Mutton Bustin get to have a spot in the Reno Rodeo Mutton Bustin if they win our jackpot.
Oh, wow.
So we're sponsoring it for the very first time this year, and it all again ties in and was a really awesome opportunity for us. So we're doing that. We're doing the Kids Day this year, and then we also have a Dare to Be a Cowboy team, businessman steer decorating team, and that would be
Okay.
my
What?
husband that's
What?
doing
Steer
it.
decorating?
Yeah, if you've seen it at the Reno Rodeo, it's as crazy as it sounds.
Okay. Okay.
So,
One I've missed.
yep. So we also are doing that, which will be fun. Just yeah, Reno Rodeo is amazing, so supportive. We're actually, I don't think a lot of people realize how lucky we are to have such a big rodeo in our hometown.
Oh, yeah.
Reno's still our hometown technically, but it's the fourth largest rodeo in the world. So
Mhm.
it's really awesome to have as big of a production as we have with Reno. But yeah,
Yeah.
love Reno Rodeo.
Wait, let's talk rodeo in the Sierra for a moment because I know Bishop
Yeah.
has a big rodeo.
Hmm.
Where else is rodeo popular in the proper Sierra Range area? I mean, I know the west side, east side. Is there other rodeo places that you connect with or know about that kids should be looking into if they're kind of interested?
So the big rodeos that I know that are around here, we have the Douglas Rodeo now. We have Reno Rodeo, Bishop also. Truckee has a pro rodeo
Okay.
in August, and then I think that's pretty much it. I mean, there's a difference between a production rodeo like Reno Rodeo and
Hmm.
Truckee, and then rodeos that are more contestant based. So
Sure.
Reno Rodeo is a show. They have the clown, they have the specialty acts, all of that. And for those, that's Truckee. That would be Reno.
Yep.
I know Fallon. Fallon is putting on a pro rodeo. I believe it's this weekend actually, and
Oh,
that's the
okay.
first time that they will be doing a pro rodeo as well.
And then Bridgeport does a
Battleborn,
cowboy rodeo 4th of July. I know. So.
yeah, and that's a ranch rodeo. Yep, and that's
Okay.
more contestant based. Also super fun to watch, but it's not a show. But yeah, and then Battleborn Bronx is also new. They had their third year this year during Easter, and that's also in Fallon, and that's all just bronc riding, but also more show based and appeals to people that are outside of horse
Right.
industry.
And
Because
then
I
the,
think if anybody just goes and watches a barrel race, it's going to be a little boring. It's the same thing over and over and over again. You know what I mean? So,
yeah, exactly. Well, let's talk about barrel racing just in case we have somebody who wants to learn more about it.
yeah.
Tell me about barrel racing. What's it take to be a barrel racer? Give me some insight on barrel racing.
Yeah, so barrel racing is an absolutely insane industry. It is almost way over my head at this point. No,
Okay.
not even almost, absolutely. I mean, at the very basic level, it's basically just a speed event around a cloverleaf pattern around barrels. So it's all about who has the fastest time, and you place people from there. At this point, the barrel racing industry is so huge that the top barrel horses are going for $1 million+.
Whoa.
I know an embryo just sold not too long ago, an embryo for $150,000. It is a lot of money in this industry. It's kind of like the cutting industry or reining, where it's more like a higher class cowboy in a way. But barrel racing is also open, and there are events that appeal to beginners as well. So around here, we have a Gymkhana club, and that's for very beginners, people that don't want to be professional cowboys. Because if you want to be a professional barrel racer, you're going to be on the road 300 out of 365 days out of the year. And you travel the entire country, go to the biggest rodeos, hope you can place. There's just so much involved in it.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure your horses are healthy. Make sure you are healthy. I mean, it's a sport, so working out, all of that stuff. And for me, I'm what they call a weekend warrior. So I have my other job, and then I'll go barrel race on the weekends, basically.
Yep.
So
there you go.
And that's what I love to do. I think as a high school rodeo athlete, there was a period where it's like, okay, what is my next step? I high school rodeoed. I was very serious about high school rodeo, made it to nationals, college scholarship, everything. And I think with any athlete in that way, collegiate athlete, there's a next step, like, do I go pro? And if I don't, then there's almost a grief period of where you need to, it's like, okay, I'm letting this dream go in a way. And so that, I think obviously the majority of people do that, but there's still a lot of opportunity. And so that's where the barrel race series that I put on, it appeals to both, but mostly non-pros. Pros will really, because there's a lot of money in that.
Yeah.
Whereas ours, it appeals to, just people that are around here that want to hit a barrel race. We go all the way down to Pee-wee, so it's 0 to any age.
So give me some something to hold on here too. So what is like your top like race speed for barrel racing versus what a professional race, $1 million horse is going to run these courses at?
Right. So there are different barrel race pattern size, but we'll just go based on the standard pattern, which is what you'll see at Reno, and then what you would see at like my race.
Yep.
This last weekend, we actually so at Reno, if you want to win the race, say it'll be about a 16.8, maybe 16.6 to 16.9.
Okay.
So stinking fast. That is so stinking fast.
Yeah.
We did have somebody run that time at our barrel race this last weekend who will be running at Reno. So we did have a mix of pros. And she completely, like, just at 16.8, everyone was just shook. But like a most standard, standard, like me, what Moonshine, my horse, would run is 18.0 to 18.5 typically.
Yeah.
And then you go all the way up. What's nice about barrel racing is they have the way that the structure is, you can still place and win money even if you run 2.5 seconds slower than the fastest time.
But isn't that crazy? You're talking about a sport, though. The difference between professional awesome to, going to be, this is a life passion, but I'm never going to be serious, is 4 seconds.
Oh, yeah. It's crazy.
Isn't that the true story of American sport in every sport? It's like,
and that's where the health of the horse and, everything like that, it really comes down to everything, every little thing that you do for yourself and your horse, because it's that, whether you win or lose.
So you said Moonshine. Is Moonshine still around?
Yeah.
Okay, I got it. So I'm gonna ask you because I was thinking about this a little earlier because I'm not a cowboy. You know that I know almost nothing. But there's a connection between cowboys and their horses, or cowgirls, rodeo and their horses that I think a lot of people don't quite understand. Right? Me and my dog have a great relationship. Talk to me about your relationship with your horse, what that's meant to you as a person. And just kind of let's share some light on that. We live in the wild stallion part of Nevada. We have wild horses out our gate. You can go see, but what's it mean to have a horse that you trust like Moonshine?
Yeah. And I think that's a big thing, even with rodeo, is some people from the outside see the animals and assume that they're treated poorly. Mm-hmm. And even when it comes to the bucking stock, whether it's a barrel racer's horse or the bucking stock, those animals are worth so much money and have to perform like an athlete. Their care is always 10 out of 10 better than the athletes. Like the barrel racers are always drinking the Red Bulls and getting the Danish while their horse is getting so much money of supplements to them and so much, you know what I mean? So and that's where it started for me as well, is just my love of the horse. And Moonshine is what I would call my heart horse. I think everybody in their cowboy cowgirl career has like that one horse in a
Mm-hmm.
way, and Moonshine is that for me. She got me through high school, and she moved with me to Texas and was in college with me, and now I actually have one of Moonshine's babies, which is so
Oh,
important to me, and
that's
she's
cool.
just yeah, it's just the light of my life. And so she just turned 3, so she'll start barrel racing as well here soon. But I mean, it's everything. I think that's the core of the Western industry are the horses, of course, the lifestyle, but you can't have that without your horses and your
Yeah.
cows. And yeah, like I said, everyone, whether it's a barrel racer or you own your bucking stock, you have to take such care of those animals, or they're not going to perform. They're so big,
Yep.
they're so strong. You're not going to make those things do anything that they don't want to do. So yeah, I mean, it really is everything. And even with our lesson program, it always starts with that. It's always, we have our lesson horses, our Mita, and it's always the kids are just in love with her
Mm-hmm.
and build that relationship with her. And that is kind of like the gateway drug into everything else,
I
basically.
gotcha. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, you believe it or not, we're coming up on 20, well, almost 30 minutes already
Oh,
here.
wow.
I want to give you one chance to kind of lay out the summer for Dare to Be a Cowboy. How do people get involved? How do people get
Yeah.
connected and maybe support an organization like yours, and kind of give you a chance to shout out. And then we have a sponsorship plug for our own hometown, Carson Valley.
Yeah, so we do a lot of different events, whether that's hosting our own events or being a part of somebody else's. All of our events are on our website. Like we had talked about, we have our barrel race series coming up. The next thing will be the rookie roundup rodeo camp. We also are doing a Dare to Be a Cowboy Day at Dangberg Ranch. We're working with them and doing a day
Oh, that'd be
with
fun.
them on July 31st. In August, we're going to Ely, and we will be at Lyon County Fair. And that's also actually a big rodeo that happens in
Okay.
August 17th weekend around there. And yeah, so even if you have a child that wants to be involved, then we have opportunities for you. Or even if you want to volunteer, absolutely, we need and love and welcome all volunteers. We don't have a volunteer application on our website yet, but if that is something that you're interested in, you can DM us or email us or anything like that. But yeah, and then we have our Mutton Bustin, and that appeals to the younger kids, 5 to 7. Our fall one will be in October. That always sells out so fast, and we're releasing entries for that on June 20th, so only in 10 days. So if you have a 5 to 7 year old that wants to mutton bust, we will have entries for that opening as well. Rookie Roundup entries are already open. Barrel race entries are also open. And I
And
believe I named everything
if you
so
don't know
far.
what mutton busting, by the way, is, if you're in San Francisco and you're listening to the Sierra Show going, why are we talking about rodeo? Mutton busting is where the kids get on top of the sheep and they
Oh,
hold
yeah.
on as far as long as they can
Oh,
at
yeah.
the show. It's quite comical,
Oh, it's my
but the kids
favorite
love it.
event of the year. It is. It's so cute, and the little kid, they're so brave. A lot of them are, of course, so scared. You have
Yeah,
a sheep that you need to get on, and and they just seeing them go push through their fears and still ride. It's my favorite. And at Reno Rodeo, you will never hear the crowd as loud as they are than when
absolutely.
during the mutton busting.
100%. I've been to the rodeo, and that's a great plug too. Reno Rodeo is coming up. I didn't come with
Yep.
prepare the date to apologize to. I should look it up real quick. But if you go to Reno Rodeo, look up Dare to Be a Cowboy. Hannah will be around. I know. I don't know if your family will be there too. Great family.
Yep.
They just want to say hi, tell you stories, and get you next to the horses, I'm sure. So, great organization. So, Hannah, I want to thank you so much. I got a real quick promo for the Carson Valley here. We're going to run our hometown here. We didn't even get to talk about trails on the pine nuts or horses like that. But I want to run this real quick, and then I have 3 questions for you so our guests can get to know you a little bit. Okay?
Yeah.
Yep. Hannah Beth and I live in a beautiful place, and wild horses are part of our country here, and horses in general are part of our community. Even though somebody like me, I have nothing to do with them whatsoever, but it's great to know people who have horses and see their passion on it. So, Hannah Beth, obviously we're a recreation channel, and you know that about me. So we're going to talk about the Sierra for a moment, but talk about you. Okay. So here's the 3 questions we asked. One, let's pretend your bag's packed behind you. So you and your husband going to take off for the weekend and go to the Sierra and go play. Where are you heading and why?
Hmm. Where are we headed? I think any of the alpine lakes in Markleeville area, anything like
Yeah.
that, we absolutely love. Blue Lakes, all those places. It'd probably be the first place that we go because my husband loves fishing and I
Yeah.
love laying on the paddleboard while he fishes.
There you go. Blue Lakes is a good choice. I love
Yeah,
going
Blue
to.
Lakes is
I
awesome.
learned
What
how to
would I
paddleboard
pack?
last year.
Always sunscreen. My husband's always burning himself, so of course we always need sunscreen. Always my sunglasses, always water, things like that. We're definitely bringing the dogs, so I have to bring all the dogs, their
Yep.
accessories and things
See, she's
because
skipping ahead of the next question here.
oh,
You heard it from me. So the next question was that we're all gearheads in some way. So what kind of gear do you never leave home without? And I was
definitely
gonna
my
go rodeo,
husband.
but
Yeah, definitely my husband because he packs all that for me. When
oh,
he's
the husband's the
when we're
gear.
going places, he's the one that gets it together. So definitely just him. As long as I have
I
him, I'm good
like
to
it. There's my
go.
first ever. The husband is the gear. So that's
Yeah.
perfect. I love it. And then finally, you know me, I like my food and, cheeseburgers and milkshake after a big hike. After day of the rodeo, what's the go-to grub that you have to have?
Tacos and margaritas all
Tacos and
day. And
margaritas.
you'll hear that from the majority of barrel racers. If we can go get some margaritas and some tacos, we will be very happy
And a little
even after a
inside
bad run.
secret, her mom makes great tacos, so I know she comes by that naturally. So
Very true. Yep,
very
exactly.
cool. Well, Hannah Beth, we wish you the best of luck at Reno Rodeo coming up and all your events coming on this weekend or this summer. It looks like it's just kind of expanding for you. Good
Yep.
job, young lady.
Thank
I've been
you.
fun to follow. Keep it up. We're big fans here at Sierra Rec, and our family obviously loves you. So
Yeah.
have a great weekend
Likewise.
wherever you're at. Check Dare to Be a Cowboy out online and support them where you can. And we hope you have a great weekend this year wherever you're at. Have a good day.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yep.